Well, today on Celebration Sunday, we're celebrating three things in particular. We are celebrating our community. Number one, would you say with me, community? Community. We're celebrating what we are creating together. Would you say that with me? Creating together. And we are celebrating the creative presence. Creative presence. Community. What we are creating together. And the creative presence of life with which we are always cooperating. That we are using this presence for purposes of good or purposes of what we may call evil. That this creative presence is always enlivening us and giving us the strength and the power to create. And so today we celebrate what we are truly creating together. I mean, have you ever really thought about that each and every one of us have the opportunity to create together? When a couple comes together, quite often they want to create a family, they want to have children, they want to create a home, they're creating together. And it's no different if you have a team comes together and they're creating together, a band creates together, a spiritual community creates together. That each and every one of you are like a unique ingredient that adds to this creation. And so when people come and they're blessed, it's because of what we are creating together. So today, throughout the day, we'll tell you a little bit more about the afternoon, but each of you are going to be receiving this little bracelet that says, Unity of the Blue Ridge, Evolving Together. Because truly what we are doing here, a part of what we're doing here is connecting, evolving, and making a difference together. So you're creating together. Those of you, we just are almost complete. We still have a few more little things to go, but how many of you noticed the beautiful fresh paint when you walked in? A fresh makeover. And so if you were a part of that, if you sponsored, if you co-sponsored, if you painted, if you prepped the walls, would you please stand and let us acknowledge you as being a part of that? Please remain standing. And after the service, there are some stars up here. I'm going to ask you to come and pick up a star because you are the all-stars among us. Now, the good news is there's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3. So some of you, if you've not yet had an opportunity, don't feel left out. Remain standing, and the rest of us would like to bless you with this unity blessing together. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the divinity in you. Thank you for your love and spirit in action among us. Thank you. So, celebrating our community, celebrating what we create together, and celebrating the creative presence. There's a scripture that I'd like to share with you that comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 44. There's a powerful parable. Now, this is a story. It's an illustration that is used to convey a powerful spiritual teaching. It says, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. And then in his joy went and sold all that he had and bought that field. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure in a field. When a woman found it, she hid it again. And then in her joy went and sold all that she had and bought that field. Now this is an interesting parable seeking to teach us something about our spiritual nature. And it begins with a great discovery. Finding something that you were so excited about that caused you to bring about great change. This person went and sold everything that they had because of what they had discovered. How many of you know that the greatest thing you will ever discover is your true nature, is that you are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience first and foremost? That's a great discovery. And that quite often, many lives remain a life of digging in the field, of trying to find treasure, of digging here and digging there and trying to find something that will bring satisfaction, bring richness, bring fulfillment into our life. Well, this individual is obviously on their spiritual path, and it says they found it. And it was great joy and great celebration. And then right after the celebration, change. Everything must change.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. No one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one stays unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure, except rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds to fly. Winter turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. No, nothing and no one goes unchanged.
way to have a long, enjoyable life is to truly realize that everything must change. In this parable, the person had great joy because of a discovery. And this great joy was such that it prompted change that wasn't a burden because the change was leading to something good. They sold everything. They changed something to go and buy a field which had treasure in it. It had the treasure in it. Change in our relationship with change. You know, fall is an interesting time to really bring awareness to change. I have never seen an oak tree just saying, I didn't want to lose my leaves this year. Or a dogwood tree saying, I hate it when that happens. Or I didn't see that coming. They know that it's definitely part of it, embracing that change. Well, when the change leads to what makes change bearable, what makes change enriching is discovering a field that has treasure in it. You see, life has a discovery component. Discovering and waking up. Some traditions call it awakening. Waking up. Some traditions call it being saved from the illusion that this life is all there is. That we wake up and realize that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And so then when we begin to realize that, the kingdom of heaven, as the scriptures say, are within us. They're with us. They're among us. They're everywhere we are. And so now we are living in a field with treasure in it. Our relationships have treasure within it. Whatever it is that we're facing, we realize that the treasure is right there with us. And when the treasure is always with us, whatever we're facing, we have the resources, we have the treasure, we have the spiritual resources to be able to meet that and to be used. There is a passage that comes from the Tao Te Ching. Would you give me that says, when you look for it, there is nothing to see. When you listen for it, there is nothing to hear. But when you use it, it is inexhaustible. You see, this is also talking about what we may call the kingdom of heaven, that is to realize that your treasure is already here. It's in your life, so begin to use it. Begin to use the love that you have. Begin to use the peace that you have. Begin to use the resources that you have. Begin to use the joy that you have. And as you begin to use it, it cannot be exhausted. You'll realize you're tapped into an infinite supply, and as you give, you have more of that to give. That's the whole secret, if you will. That's the mystery solved, is to realize the treasure is already here. Now let me place myself in a field. Let me place myself in a state of mind, a state of awareness. Let me place myself in a position that I'm aware the treasure is here. I need to begin to use it. And as I use it, what is it that I'm using? It's your God-given resources within you. It's those states of being like love and light and peace and joy and beauty. As we begin to use them, as we take possession of it and begin to put it forth, it's inexhaustible. We can never exhaust it. I wanted to share with you how each of you, some of the transformation that is taking place, how many of you are applying these teachings in your life, and how you're making an impact on one another. Remember, what we're celebrating is our community, what we are creating together, and then the creative presence. I have permission to share these. Mary Fond wrote this week, something major happened to me a couple of Saturdays ago. For a long while, I had been in one of those struggles. Not exactly a dark night of the soul, but a darkening. Couldn't tell you what caused it. Maybe the normal grieving process of releasing mother, uncle, and then brother in 3 years. Maybe my husband's new diagnosis. Maybe my own diagnosis. Anyway, there seemed to be no following of paths back to center. Back to that place of knowing that all is well. For months, I'd tried fighting my way to equanimity, Duh. Wonder why that didn't work. Anybody try fighting your way back to peace? I tried relaxing my way back to equanimity. Nope. That wasn't working either. Nothing was awful. Objectively, everything was pretty good, but the spirit was uneasy. Then it shifted on September 12th in seconds. What happened? Well, I volunteered for the Adopt a Highway work. I actually didn't even fully volunteer. I signed up as a maybe. Anybody kind of maybe in your field with treasure in it? Maybe you have something to give? I signed up as a maybe, but Charlie Rogers told me to come on out. September 12th was a beautiful day. I ran early instead of late. The temperature was pleasant. As the people arrived, we interacted. Every person was typical Unity. They were pleasant, loving, willing to pitch in, not too worried about the details. And then Charlie and Pam drove up. We casually met before, and I knew they were both pleasant people who contributed a lot of energy to the community. And when she stepped out of the car, she was radiating a love that just seemed to come natural. She greeted me and gently touched my shoulder. And I felt a shift. Those of you who have ever had energy work probably know exactly what I mean. Although that was part of the process, what shifted, I wasn't how I felt about her. It wasn't how I felt about Unity, although that may have been part of the process. But the shift was going back to remembering that I was part of oneness, with a touch on the shoulder. Through her unconditional, loving greeting, which seemed to come as naturally as breathing, there was healing. I felt Spirit's unconditional acceptance, the unconditional safeness of being. That sounds as if the Spirit was experienced as something outside of myself, but of course, the beauty of Spirit was experienced as something that I'm a part of. If we are truly selves in the body of God, then each of us has power to heal ourselves and each other. By letting one person's spirit shine through, they became a healer to me that morning. And this demonstrates how Spirit can shine through us even when we don't know it. And to me, this is a true illustration of Unity's principles at work. Mary Fawn Daltrey. Luke Norris wrote, and again, I have permission to share. I have the joy of receiving these almost every week. And today, as we celebrate, I want you to know some of these things that people are saying about you. Are you here, Luke? Luke is new. Thank you again for Sunday's message. This first month of living here has been really rough on me. Your message and the Unity folks have lent me love and support merely by your presence each Sunday. The job search has been rough, and my consciousness had fallen into the muck of negative thinking. Anybody fall into the muck of negative thinking between Sunday afternoon and Sunday morning? I was very discouraged, and my finances were dwindling. The Sunday message really helped turn it around and changed my perspective. This week, I was offered a job. Next week, I have an orientation. Thank you, Unity, for lifting me up. Luke. And then a couple who are anonymous. Thank you for the welcome. We had a lovely time. I saw a few people I already knew, and that made it very sweet. Also, the people who recognized me as being new were very welcoming, offering assistance, open to questions. I thought you might like to know that because I've been to other worship places where no one said a word. It was a bit unnerving and cold. My husband and I have started branching out, looking for a community that is active. We have found one with Unity of the Blue Ridge. You will see us soon in the future. And then from an individual, the message and this community have helped me to open my eyes and see that I too have light within that is waiting to be shown and shared. Thank you for encouraging me to serve and grow. I want you to know that lives are being transformed and that you are a part of it. that as we embrace change, this change is not only bringing about change in us, this change is an energy that we can work with to bring about change within us. The beauty of the past, the present, and the future is that the best way to predict the future is to create it. Would you say that with me? The best way to predict the future is to create it. I do too. Thomas More writes from his book, Care of the Soul, a spirituality that doesn't touch every aspect of daily, personal, and commercial life is bogus. And so the final gift that we have for you today, as well as a party this afternoon that Mother Nature is going to allow us to party inside. You're going to all get one of the bracelets, but would you show the last little round circle? I have for you a round to it. For some of you, it's time to get around to it. Keep playing. Now, only you know what that is. What is it time for you to get around to? There'll be baskets set up by the pretty willows on the when you walk out to your right where you can pick up your bracelet and your wooden to-it. And I encourage you to take this and to reflect on what are the blessings in your life that come from being a part of a spiritual community. Being a part of realizing that we are creating something together. Do you know that we are a oneness community, a community of oneness? Do you know that that doesn't make us better than or any different than any other community, but we're not focused on any other community. We're focused on what we can create right here. And when we all let go and we all say, you know what, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to turn it up a degree. I'm going to really allow my light to shine. Can you imagine what will happen? That's what this represents. And then your personal to it is for you always remember you're already living in your field of treasure. What are you being called to get around to? And so we're going to anchor this in a time of meditation as again we sing that song, I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. Every day that I live, I